give them a warm welcome. My Chemical Romance.
Thank you.
I don't know if you heard me, but we got a section over there who literally came in from, I thought it was Brazil. They came in from Argentina.
Oh, wow.
Right,
Guys.
right here. Argentina.
Hi. Right on. Thank you. We haven't been there in a while.
Well, they're coming to you now. You don't have to go down there. They're coming up here. So anyway, welcome to the Grammy Museum.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you.
Tonight's going to be fun, and we really appreciate you being here. And I thought, we played that video, which is a great video. Agreed? Yeah. Great video. And let's just start off by talking about how much fun that was to do.
Oh man, it was a lot of fun to do that. We got to film it out in the desert with a bunch of friends with ray guns and fast cars. It wasn't the hottest day of the year. It was the day after the hottest day of the year. That was pretty cool. Did you see it, right? That's how much fun, how much fun you could probably imply it was from watching the video is how much fun it was, but how much fun times 10.
Yeah.
It was that cool.
You kind of, one of the things about being in a rock band that's amazing is you get to have these moments where, I call them Bowie moments, where you just kind of, it's like every fantasy you had as a kid, kind of come to life. If you wanted to be in a rock band, you have this big kind of Bowie moment where you see what was in your head realized. And, for Black Parade, it was walking on the set of that video that Sam Bayer had created this world that I had in my head, and walking out in there was the first time I had ever felt that. And I kind of always use that moment as a benchmark when describing what it feels like to see your art created in front of you. But doing Na Na was even better than that. That was stuff, and I guess it's because it's not only stuff that was in my head for so long and while we were making this record together, but it's also something that I wasn't sure was ever going to come out. And that's the thing about Danger Days that is really important and special about it to me, is the fact that, I don't know that we knew for sure it was ever going to come out, or if we'd ever finish, or if we'd hit that next level. So,
but why do you say that? Why was there doubt?
I kind of felt like at times where we were making that, when the Goonies come into the ship and they find when I really he's just dead there, and there's all these, it's it kind of felt like people were gonna one day down the line walk into the studio and be like, "Whoa, they were trying to make this awesome record. Look at all the shit we found." Too bad they didn't make it out. You know what I mean?
That's the best way to ever heard it described. I think that's what we're gonna use in interviews from now on. That's actually what it felt like.
Said first at the Grammys.
Well, let's talk about the new record and talk about it that in a way that kind of describes how that record is perhaps a little bit more different, a little bit more progressive, maybe, whatever you want to call it, from the other three.
Yeah. Well, one of the things to bring up first maybe is that I guess now from doing interviews and all this stuff, really realizing what Black Parade meant to a lot of people. I think as a band, we were touring so much, we had no idea. We know that we were playing arenas, but it was quite a blur. And 2.5 years later, you just had a bunch of guys that were really fried. And so it's literally now doing interviews or meeting people that were maybe, little kids when Black Parade came out, and talking to them about how much this record means to them. I realized that the record actually is important to people, and that was a really nice thing to hear. But there was such a creative burnout after it that it was hard to figure out what was going to come next, and by the nature of this band, whatever we do always has to be so different that it's hard to find that after a while. And I think Black Parade was this moment for us where we really honed everything we learned, and we discovered that. And now we had to kind of reboot the band. We had to start over. And that's why it was so hard to make it, and maybe why it sounds so different.
Yeah. A lot of people ask if is Danger Days the reaction to the Black Parade. And I think I've come to realize that the reaction to the Black Parade was us taking time off. That was, all right, we've done this, and now our reaction to it is to exhale a little bit and to live our lives. And then the reaction to the time off was Danger Days, basically, So you have this band, kind of trying to reimagine what it is to be in this band, what it is to be a rock band, and we went through a lot of growing and I think self-realization, like in the making of the record, and it was fun to experiment. And when you hear the final product of Danger Days, you're hearing a band that's just having a good time being creative again.
Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, there's things on Danger Days that we've been dying to do since the beginning of the band. You know, songs like Planetary and songs like Sing and songs like Scarecrow. It's they were all like, you know, pipe dreams to us, and we didn't think that they were technically, you know, My Chemical Romance songs. And, you know, through making the record, I think we realized that, you know, we kind of get to dictate. You know, that's the fun part. We get to dictate what a My Chemical Romance song is.
Mm-hmm. You know, you say, Gerard, that you were burnt out. Mm-hmm. The band had been going pretty intense for 5 or 6 years, right. Pretty hardcore. The last date of that tour, and then it stops, and then you realize there's nothing planned, there's nothing going on. When you actually take the time off, you're all artistic guys, and I always consider when you're that intensely artistic as you are, in particular in the band as a whole, that there's almost a daily need to create.
Yeah.
How did you feel that then?
I started, it's actually funny because that need came much earlier than the end of the tour, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because, you know, and that's one of the things that I'm kind of experiencing now to some extent, is that you create this thing, you spend a lot of time on it, you do all this art, and then you put it out, and then you just tour. So every day isn't kind of like making a new painting. And so I found other ways to kind of fill that up by, on the road, like by writing comics or doing
Were you
things
doing
like
the
that.
comics? Mikey, what are you doing?
I started to, I was doing some comics too. We have something that we're working on together right now. I usually I read a lot. Painting. I do some painting too.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was like trying. It was weird. I was trying when after Black Parade was done. I was like trying to write songs or just like little pieces, bits and things here and there. I just felt really weird to not be doing it with the rest of the guys. It was, I would like say write a verse or a chorus or just parts of a song, and I'm like, oh, this just doesn't feel right, and would shelve it. That was kind of what was going on. There was definitely after that time off after Black Parade, there was the want to create. I don't know. It just took a little while to get us.
Did you guys keep in touch? Was it something where you're hanging together, or you all had girlfriends and now wives and thinking about other things? What's your daily days like? You sleeping until 1 or 2 in the afternoon? Or?
Not anymore.
For a little while.
A month at a time. Yeah, a lot of sleep.
We did call each other pretty quickly after the tour stopped. But then it almost felt like we kind of didn't know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah.
But we knew we were supposed to take time off.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Yeah. I had these moments where I'd feel like, oh, I want to make an album right now. And it was like 3 months after we stopped touring. Like stuff like that would happen. You'd get these, but you just didn't know how to kind of face it again. It was really strange.
I felt like you were like prescribed time off or something.
Yeah.
A pill. Like you have to take this, so and so many months off before you can start again. Or
Like the rogue detective.
yeah.
Yeah.
So after the time off is occurring, at what point do you realize, okay, now it's time to get back on the road, it's time to get back in the recording studio? Is there an epiphany that any of you have, says it's time, or do you simply evolve into it?
Well, I think with this record, and I think it's a lot of why the first attempt got scrapped, all it was this feeling of you must do an album because you have to, because like if you don't, what's going to happen to the band, and what's going to happen to you guys, and
Well, you took 4 years off. I mean,
well,
that's not true.
It was.
Well, people really.
Oh yeah,
you're out of the public eye.
From record to record. Yeah, I mean, it was. I would say public eye wise though, even 2.5 years in, it would get to the point where we'd be in like a Barnes and Noble and still see a photo on a magazine.
Yeah,
to the point where we were like, even I was like, oh my god,
it's still out there. Yeah,
like this is crazy, But yeah, in terms of just like a completely casual music listener, yeah, for a 4-year kind of gap. But it definitely felt more like I have to do it. Like it almost felt like, it must be time.
Yeah.
Because it's been enough time. We've had enough time off. But
I think doing the Watchmen soundtrack too, that was like the opportunity to get us into the studio to do something that we have wanted to do ever since we were kids, like to be a part of that movie. And then like that felt really good to just be in the studio and just play really loud. And I think if we had gotten into the studio to actually write a record that week, or we had stayed in that studio, we could have came out with a record. You know, I don't know how good it would have been, but like we could have came out with a record. But I think, you know, we had to take the time to kind of get the studios lined up, and it was like, yeah, all right, yeah, it's time. Like we feel like playing together again, but I don't think we were inspired to write a record. You know, we just thought, you know, we want to get together again. And
So how does the Dylan cover come? Where does the idea come to do Desolation Row?
that was actually from
Yeah, the
Zack Snyder,
director. Yeah, he had wanted to bookend the film with Dylan songs, but he says I want to do because the whole soundtrack is all these classic songs. He said, well, at the end, I want to, you know, do this thing at the end though that has a modern band doing a take on one of these songs. So
Did you guys know this song? Were you
yeah,
guys Dylan
absolutely.
fans?
Yeah, absolutely.
When he brought it up, we were like, that's a long song.
Yeah.
Man. Like,
That's right. There's a lot of lyrics in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was cool. He was like, no, you can do what you want to do with it. And so we took a little bit of you know, artistic freedom with it. But it you know, it's still fun to play live. It's one of those songs that just it rips.
Is it in the live show? Pretty much?
It has been, yeah.
Yeah, we've been playing it.
Let's reverse a little bit and go back in time. Let's go back because, again, this is for the archives. I want to talk about the roots and talk about growing up in New Jersey and what that was like. And eventually we'll get to 2001. But what's it like in your household, each of you? What are your earliest musical roots? And how do you basically get into music to say, ooh, this is something I want to do? Go right down the line.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was my older brother Louis. He played guitar. We all of us shared. I have two older brothers. We all shared a bedroom, probably about the size of these two carpets put together. You know, so we were all very close to each other. And my oldest brother, you know, he was out of high school and, you know, working at the local ShopRite and got enough money together to buy like a small amp and buy his first guitar. And so he would, you know, spend all hours playing guitar. And I shared a room with him, and you know, I just looked up to him so much. You know, and then as I got older, around like junior high, I guess like around 15 or 16, you know, some friends that I met, you know, were interested in like, you know, like Metallica, Pantera, Anthrax, Overkill, you know, kind of like metal bands. And you know, I talked to my brother, and he was like, he had a whole stack of guitar magazines and handed me them, and handed me his guitar, and you know, basically showed me how to play in that sense. He just gave me the keys, you know, and he's always been like a great influence. He's got such a good heart. He's like my music hero.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, me and Gerard, we shared a bedroom growing up, so we kind of had the same musical interests. You know, we were in the same microcosm. We really liked like Queen and Michael Jackson and Prince and Bruce Springsteen, and then, you know, as we got older, we went into the like the Misfits and Metallica and Danzig and the Smiths, you know, and it kind of evolved from there.
I didn't share a bedroom with anybody. But my dad and my grandfather were both drummers.
Oh.
So they would play all the time. They played, you know, every weekend, and every time we would all get together or whatever, like they would talk about gigs that they were playing or
So they were working drummers.
Oh
right?
yeah. Working musicians, like all the time. And I would go see them play every weekend. So that was a dream of mine to play shows and to, you know, have a date book that they would always talk about, like, oh, I can't make it this day because I got this gig, and like that was so cool to me. So I don't know if I really wanted to play music. I just wanted a date book, I think. but my dad really wanted me to play an instrument. They started me out on drums. I wanted to kind of be able to write songs, so I think I leaned towards other things. At some point, I got a saxophone. I don't know what happened there. I didn't really like that. And then he got me a guitar, so I really like guitars. And I started my first band when I was 11, and ever since, just wanted to be in a band.
Yeah.
I also like Michael Jackson. That's cool.
Yeah, let's see. Well, I remember really early memories of being in the car with my dad, and he'd have like these 8 tracks, and like one of them was Queen. And I remember being in the car, me and Mikey, my mom would take us to the supermarket, and she only had like pop radio, and they had a very small collection of records. So it was mostly just pop or just old stuff that was pop anyway. So first, you know, experiences was with pop, and then me and Mikey's grandma was musical, and she had a piano, and she basically, you know, we had no interest in really learning how to play piano, but she taught me how to sing, and she was always pushing us to create art. And but music had always seemed like this thing that was unattainable. And it was like kind of my secret desire to be a musician, even though like it seemed like nobody does that. Like nobody, you know, in the household, it wasn't like this thing that people could do, you know. And when I discovered punk and rock and roll, that was like, it kind of made it even worse. That it was, so I was obviously very drawn to that, like to find something that you could, like finding a band like the Misfits that was very pop, but could aggressively express themselves, you know, and it irritated people, and that was fun too, you know. So I was always drawn to stuff like that.
Growing up in New Jersey, you'd mentioned Bruce Springsteen. You know, you guys are from New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. We know that he carries a special cachet in New Jersey, almost saint-like.
Yeah.
And you know, you probably can't be not influenced by him in some way, but then I'm sure there's a certain time where you have to break from it, and you guys all obviously do. Right. At what point do you become sophisticated enough? You keep mentioning some of the names that you're starting to deal with, Smiths, you're dealing with Bowie, etc. Is this happening in high school, where your musical sophistication is growing? Middle school, so it's happening.
And it's because I had a cool friend. That's really.
Well,
it's always a cool friend or like an older friend, but like this dude named Dan DePask, he was my age, and he was watching specials on Channel 13 about Sonic Youth, like in middle school. He was bringing me like records like Daydream Nation, and we'd go to Pier Platters in Hoboken together and buy really weird records. So almost already bypassing like even modern rock and even like cool punk. This was like even weirder stuff. Like Sonic Youth was super weird at the time.
And that's pretty sophisticated music.
Yeah, in middle school, so I had a cool friend. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's.
Where do you go? What towns are you guys from?
Belleville.
Yeah,
Belleville,
we're from
I'm from Kearney.
Kearney, Belleville. So all around the Newark area.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So when you mention Hoboken, which is what, 5 or 6 miles due east, close to New York City, there's a great club where I know you guys played, Maxwell, right? So you go from playing at some point these small clubs, and then all of a sudden you're into arenas. But there's some stories that we want to tell before that, and one of them is being from New Jersey. September 11, 2001, a monumental time for America, for everybody on the planet is touched by that. But people in Jersey who actually could see the smoke and what actually was happening, and you guys from Belleville or Newark, I don't know if you could, but certainly on the shore, we could see what was going on there. Let's describe that and how that impacts the band, if you will.
That was a surreal day. I remember waking up and turning on the TV and seeing that the first plane had already hit, and being like, oh man, what a weird, accident. Yeah, what a weird accident. Yeah. And then you're watching, and then all of a sudden you see the second plane hit, and I remember it was like a movie, like seeing it on TV and then running outside and looking to see the skyline and just seeing all this smoke, and it was just like, you felt like you're in like that Independence Day movie or something.
Yeah.
It's like under attack, and it was horrible. I mean, I remember my mom just crying and not understanding, really, like, I don't understand what's happening right now. Yeah. You just felt helpless.
Mm-hmm. It affected the band in a giant way. I mean, I just remember I was in Hoboken, and I was on my way into the city, and a lot of people that are fans of the band know the story, but I remember it was like watching a horror movie, and I remember really, I didn't understand it at the time, but what I ended up processing in my head was, this isn't a game. Like, this is, like, life isn't a game. Like, this isn't something you just waste. Yeah. Like, I was doing something, like, really irrelevant at the time, that I didn't feel was important. And I remember just thinking that to myself, that this is not a waste. I can't waste this. And it was literally like 2 weeks later we had our first rehearsal. Yeah. And I think, obviously there's a lot of, byproducts of 9/11. I think we're interesting because we're one of the most direct byproducts of an incident happening. Like so instantly in 2 weeks. So, but yeah, that kind of started the band in a weird way. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What are the first rehearsals like? Anybody remember them?
I remember them really vividly. Yeah, there was it was me and Otter at first, and we had gotten together and we had rented rooms because that's all you could do. So we'd get money together, and I'd play guitar and I would sing, and he'd play the drums, and that's all it was. It was just us. And then I remember the stuff I was trying to sing was so complicated that I couldn't, because I'm not a good guitar player, so I couldn't do it, Mm-hmm. I realized I wanted something more than 3-chord punk where somebody was just singing over it. I didn't want that sound. So I remember seeing Ray in a band that played locally called the Rodneys, and I remember feeling like when I saw him play, I felt like, wow, this is like the best guitar player I've ever seen. So I called him up, and he was doing something totally different in his life at the time. You were like drums, right?
I was playing drums in just like a local band with some friends. Yeah, and he had given me a call. I was, we had met, I think, through a friend of ours, mutual friend, Sean Dillon, that he had gone to art school with, and I knew Mikey, and yeah, he just gave me the call and, said that they were working on a new band, some songs, and would you want to come over and, just hang out and play, really.
And I remember
yeah,
I
that was
had
it.
like a good feeling about it. I had this weird feeling. I think I even said that. I remember even saying it on the phone to him, like, I think I have a good feeling about this.
I definitely remember you. Yeah, he was right, obviously, right? Yeah, if ever Gerard says he's got a good feeling, go with it. No, I definitely remember, and I think that's something for all of us. Like, it definitely felt like we were fulfilling some kind of destiny, or like, doing what we were really meant to do.
Like when you picked up the guitar for the first time, did like air like wind blow and like it lit up?
Yeah, it was a light from the heavens. Come on.
It felt like that when we played our first almost full band, before Frank was in the band. We played our first actual rehearsal with Mikey playing bass. It kind of felt like that. You were just like...
Well, it felt really special, and we had all... we had all played, Gerard and Mikey had played in bands, I had played, but it never felt like that. There was something really special about just the music and, and his voice combined with everything. And,
Right.
you knew you were,
magic, though,
you knew you were part of something different.
But then a couple months later, it felt
it got
real
even
good.
better. It really felt complete.
really
Yeah.
good.
So the band starts to play around.
Yeah.
You're playing Jersey, you're playing New York.
First show was in Hamilton, New Jersey.
Hamilton,
Down in Trenton.
Okay. Yeah, by Trenton.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
What was that like?
It was
Did you go
Ewing,
all
right?
Are you playing original stuff? Or are
Yeah.
you playing
The same thing.
What are you playing? You
Close.
playing original
Original
stuff?
stuff. We only had like 4 songs. Frank got us the gig. Frank's band was headlining the show.
I did
And
merch for them while they played.
He did merch,
Yeah.
and he watched our first show. And
It was really good.
he was definitely like the first person to be into us and really believe and always play. When in the Pensy Prep band, he was always playing our demo. So he was the first person that really appreciated what we did. So when we needed somebody else, it was natural that like we turned to the only person we felt really got us.
Yeah.
That's funny because like when all you guys say, "Oh, I'm your biggest fan," that's not true. I was actually the first. So I know you're full of shit when you say it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it has to be known, like, how, before you joined the band, like, how integral you were to getting the band going. I mean, he's like, keep going. No, it's totally true. Like, this guy, he didn't even really know us, but he just, he loved,
he didn't know
he
us
liked
at
the
all.
music so much. He was just like, hey, you gotta join, come in our practice space, use our rehearsal room. And I mean, it was inspiring to watch, Pensy Prep and just kind of their work ethic and how much they practice.
Yeah, they had their stuff
I mean, they
together,
cared
man.
about-
They
they had
always
their shit
practicing.
together.
They would rehearse like
Kind of where we learned
6 hours at a
our work
time.
ethic from them, yeah.
We would be tired after
8-hour
like one run through. They would-
Yeah, we got to keep going. Frank's watching. Play that one more song.
So Frank, what do you bring to the band then? Other than this great sense of discipline and this ability to practice for hours on end.
Yeah, I'm like the splinter to the band. I'm basically the Mr. Miyagi. I don't know. I don't know. It's what do I bring to the band? I guess.
I remember first seeing, so this is before, this is when I first saw Pensy Prep, and when it was in this bar, and there was something like, I think there was like 3 people there, and me and Mikey and Alex from Eyeball were like the fourth or so. I don't know. There was like nobody there, but I remember watching, and basically Pensy Prep played this show like it was full of people, and I remember just feeling like, wow, this dude is, a great singer, but he's a great guitar player. But he's a born performer. Like this is something that's like totally meant to be on stage and in front of people, like thrashing around. And it was always something that we felt like we were missing. Like we were missing this, like everybody brings their own kind of heart to the band. He brought this kind of reckless kind of passion that I think really expressed our music. Like he was almost kind of like this physical whirling blender, like flipping and destroying everything around the stage. That was kind of an extension of exactly what we were trying to do, So that and he's a great guitar player.
And then the process of writing songs and the creative process. Early on, how does it work?
Early on, it was like somebody had something, start working on it. And it was this collaborative thing where everybody's just kind of spitting out ideas, really free form back then. Really like, I was still trying to figure out how to sing and all this stuff. Like, didn't really understand lyric writing or any of that yet. I just kind of did. It was all gut instinct for us. We had thrown out everything we had learned from any band, and everything was gut instinct. Like, well, you shouldn't jam these two parts together. We're going to do it anyway. And a lot of our sound was based off that.
I remember being a fly on the wall when they finished Vampires Will Never Hurt You, and that was the first song that you guys actually like really recorded, and it was like you guys were so excited about it. Like you were like, "Oh my God, you got to hear this song!" And they would play it over and over again. And then after they played it, they would all high five each other. Like, "Look, that was awesome!" Like, yeah, guys, that was really cool.
We still do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Now I get it though.
Yeah, now he's high fiving with us.
Yeah.
Now we brought him into that. Now he totally gets it. Yeah, we're doing when that stuff happened during Danger Days. Still, they were still high fiving each other. Like, this is the coolest song ever.
Well, the passion is there, and that keeps a band going. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
question about it. You lose that, you lose a lot. You know. Okay, so the band's staying together. It's starting to gel. When does the idea that, well, we can do something with this, we're gonna put all of our energy, put all of our creative spirit into this entity and make a run for this?
I was right away. It was very.
It was.
'Cause that's all right, so Vampires Will Never Hurt You was the first song that was actually really, really recorded. They did like 3 songs in an attic, but like they went to a studio to record Vampires. And as soon as you guys recorded it, I think it got played on Pirate Radio, which is like Seton Hall in New Jersey. And then we put it up on the internet. And within a month after that, there was A&R people from major labels calling the studio, it was ridiculous because like at that point, Thursday had a lot of heat on them, which is another amazing band from Jersey. Midtown was getting signed, Save the Day was getting signed, and so there was this crazy thing going on, and you know, My Chem was kind of getting pushed into this circle, and there was a lot of attention, and we were playing shows, and kids were going off, you know, and it was immediate though, like in that circle, I wasn't even in the band at that point, but when you heard that song, you knew something amazing was going to happen. I don't know how to pinpoint it, but like there was something really special, and we just start playing shows. You know,
Yeah, we immediately didn't look back at all. We just we all quit our jobs. We borrowed vans, and then we just kept doing it because it didn't matter kind of what was going to happen. There's this thing that it's almost hard to describe or put into words. The way that you felt when this was going on in the beginning, when you were playing a 5-song set, you hardly had a full-length album yet, but something kind of magical was happening. There was something new happening, and it was almost like we all like had the keys to it and nobody else. Like we had a secret, like we had a secret formula we were figuring out. And we didn't hang out with other bands except for Pensy Prep. We didn't talk to anybody, and we were very standoffish. We were very much like a street gang or something. And you just kind of blow into these towns and do your mascara in truck stops, and doing that stuff to even further kind of polarize or irritate or get a reaction out of people, because there was nobody that looked like that at the time. But there was something just so magical at that time that you just got in a van and you didn't care about what was going to happen to you. Because at the time, like, this isn't in a negative way, you didn't think about being 30. Like, to me, that didn't exist. Like, it was never, I wasn't going to ever hit 30. It didn't matter. Like, you know, but that was a lot of that initial power of the band, and the engine behind it was this kind of live fast, die young. And it didn't matter. Like, even if you ended up living, it didn't matter.
There, you know, when going back and just reading about the band, it's incredible how many rock genres your name, My Chem, is associated with.
Right.
Emo, glam, certainly, progressive rock, punk, metal. I mean, and some of the gamuts are pretty wild. It's a long way from glam to, you know, punk. Punk was the antithesis of that. You know, it was just 3 chords, a lot of attitude, and just go. Glam was very theatrical. And you had, this is the thing that I really always thought, wow, how you guys pulled this off. You were able to very carefully balance all of those and weave all of those forms into your music. And at the same, call them roots, but at the same time come up with something completely different. So you did a hybrid of hybrids, and it became your own. I don't know whether that was intentional or you simply let it go and it happened, but I think it's a fair assessment of what your sound ultimately became.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, really all of that to me has to do with the guys who are in it. Like, we all have, you know, love melody. and love, great songs, obviously, but we all come from such different backgrounds musically. I think a lot of bands come together, it's like, all right, you have a lot of dudes who are into this style who want to start this kind of band, or a lot of, country artists want to, or dudes who are into country want to start a country. We really just started a band and started, we picked up instruments and started making noise. For me, I come from a little bit more metal background, so maybe that's where that stuff comes in. Gerard and Mikey with the Bowie and the Smiths, the Cure, and Frank more from the punk. We just played what was in us, and that's really how the sound was formed. And you're right. I think we do have a unique sound and a unique take on music, and that take is anything goes.
Yeah.
We just create what feels good.
Yeah. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. At the time when you guys were being looked at by Warner, Tom Whalley, who was basically the head of Warner Music Group at the time, who I told you backstage was a real good friend of mine, and at the time, I was living up in Seattle. I just moved up to Seattle, and he had passed through when he came by, and we went out for dinner, and we were talking. I said, so, what are you listening to? He says, I found this band from Jersey. And right away I think, because we're from New Jersey, I'm thinking, okay, it's in the Bon Jovi mold, it's in the Bruce mold. I hadn't paid attention. I'd been away from Jersey long enough not to know many of the bands that you just mentioned. I just didn't keep up. But he says, you got to hear, this is the most incredible thing. You'll never believe it's from Jersey. And he played me. I forget what it was. And he played me. He says, it's really, really different. I don't know what to do with them yet, but it's really, really interesting. And of course, you ultimately would sign. Yeah. And of course, the rest is history, so to speak. But that was my first introduction. Just this, a little clip played in a Seattle restaurant, and it was really interesting. And here I am, talking to you today.
It's a small world.
But it is a small world. But I think when an A&R guy or a record head says that I'm really intrigued by them, but I'm not sure how it fits or what we do with it. That's a good thing. It's a challenging thing, but it's also a good thing because basically it means there's nobody else sounding like you or doing what you're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, Tom's amazing. Tom signed us. He was one of the first people to find us, and I think there's something about us that shouldn't work.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
That's kind of what does. But I think what it is even though we do come from different musical backgrounds, we all love and appreciate all of them, because I have a lot of metal records in my collection as well as punk records as well as everything. I think it's that genuine love for all of them that, like Ray was mentioning, these guys that would already say, well, I'm going to start this band. Right. That was where they were making the mistake, where we, like Ray said, just started a band. And I think that's why we do sound so unique. It's that genuine love for... I remember when it was like glam kids hated the punk kids, rockers hated the mods. Yeah. I hated that. I hated the fact that I would go to like the Pipeline and get shoved because I looked like a Britpop rock kid, and I'd be like, well, I like this. Why can't I like this too? And I think that's kind of what shaped also the personality and the identity of the band, was that inclusion of everybody and every type of music.
Yeah, but the band has also been very theatrical. I mean, just looking at the video, I mean, it's all over that, and of course your shows. The theatricality, the naysayers would say, you know what, that takes away from the music, and therefore, if you're going to play the music and the songs are good enough, let them ride on their own. Right. You could say, but by embellishing them with the theater, you bring it to a whole nother level, a whole new aspect of the song that we're going to interpret for you right now on this stage. Tell me basically how you deal with the theatrics of the music, and how do you go about creating it?
Well, to me, one of the things that also irritates naysayers is to say, not only is the theatrics important and visuals, to me, art is just as important as music, and that would probably really bother them. But that's just how I feel, that the art is just as important. Like, there's just as much thought that goes into that as the music, and they're both supporting each other. So
absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. I think, we all know our songs are great. So that aside from anything else, it's like, why would you tie your arms behind your back and not go above and beyond and do all these other things? Like, where else do you have the opportunity to do that kind of stuff? To dabble in film and art, and even down to like designing like merchandise for the band. Like give it 100% to everything, and see what happens. I think naysayers that are like, oh, it's just about this, or it's because they're not good at anything else. That's the thing, and you have to be fearless to at least try and be like, you know what, maybe I'm not good at this, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a recent New York Times article, I don't know if you saw, it was I think a Q&A. I think the first line was that My Chem is a cartoony kind of band. Literally, I think that's almost a verbatim quote, cartoony. Do you take that as a compliment or?
I think it might have meant comic booky.
Well, I was going to get to that, but she said cartoony.
Yeah. Well, cartoony is an easier line to the average casual reader, I guess. I mean, yeah, for those purposes, cartoony, I guess, is accurate. But I don't know. Maybe right now because of the colors. But I would always say it's artistic.
Yeah. You you in particular use the word art in a lot of interviews. I mean, I see that word pop up. You take it very seriously, as you just said, and you discuss it, and you're eloquent when you talk about it. At what point, if any, does the art take over from the music? Do you have to separate the two? Do they compete in your mind?
I did before. That's what was happening during Parade, and I think that's what this record really represents to me is kind of not separating it anymore because there's no reason to. If I'm gonna think about something and be passionate about something, it should be everything that I do, and I shouldn't try to divide it up.
When you guys are playing, you play clubs, and then all of a sudden you're playing arenas. You open for Green Day on the Idiot Tour, and that's huge. What does that mean in terms of your performance? Is it the same as playing Maxwell's, a club of 300 people, when you're playing, 18,000? Do you have to change the way in which you approach the music and the theatricality?
You just get more room. There's a lot more room.
Got a little more room, yeah. Bigger stage.
I think when we got to those bigger venues, there was a little bit of or at least for me, a lot more stage fright. Kind of going up there and being like, "Whoa, there's a lot of you here," and you kind of feel like you're a little bit it's weird. You feel like you're more under a microscope. It feels like little clubs and with the kids kind of falling on you and stuff like that was a security blanket. That was that stuff's not work. That's not hard. That's what I feel like we were put here to do. Mm-hmm. But when you get up in those bigger venues, it's a little bit more, a little bit more thought is put into it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a difference.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely, one thing I think was a learning curve was, going from connecting with 200 people in a room to, 2,000 and then, 10,000, how do you make the person all the way in the bleachers feel part of the gig, part of the show? And Gerard's amazing at that. It's funny though too, because, we do have intimate moments when we do Cancer. For me, the only people in that arena are Gerard and Deweese, who plays, piano and keyboards for us. So, I think that's another thing with the band. We have songs I think that work on a bigger level, and then we can kind of take it down to smaller and make everybody feel like they're in a club too.
Yeah.
Tough.
Some of the great artists, I think Springsteen, we talked about him, could concentrate on just one person. You find one face in the crowd early on, and you focus on that person with the hope that the rest of the audience, the rest of the arena, picks up the intimacy that you're creating between you
Courtney
and that
Cox?
one person. In 1984, that's who it was. You bet. So, how do you approach that? You see a sea of faces out there. What's the strategy?
Well, JJ French from Twisted Sister had come out to a concert of ours in we played, what's that arena in Long Island? Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah.
So, we're doing our own arena tour. It's Black Parade's big pyro. It's the full production.
Yeah.
So we think we got this on lock, and we're like, all right, we're really good at this arena thing now, because
we have stuff with us.
we have Zeppelins. So now we know what we're doing. So, we do this meet and greet at the end of the night, right? And JJ French, who's the guitar player of Twisted Sister, comes up to me and he says, "Man, you guys are awesome." And he'd brought his daughters because they were really into the band, but you could tell this dude was also really into the band. And he was a really intense guy, and he had sunglasses on indoors, and it was really, and he was really awesome. But he goes, "But man, I kept saying, look at me, look at me." He goes, "I'm up in the 110s, dude. You didn't look at me once." And I was like, and I think you were next to me, right?
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, nobody ever says that to you, right? And I was like, wow, I think this guy's right. I got to look more into the 110s and the 200s and the. So after that show, I was actually more mindful to make sure everybody in that arena got.
That's
some
great.
of their
That's
space.
Yeah,
Got
it's
some of
funny.
their space.
That's where me and my brother were. When we would go see at Brendan Burn, we were in the we were in the 200s. We were in the nosebleeds.
Yeah. It was
Did
a
Molly
cool
Hatchet
thing.
ever look at the 110s?
No. Well, I never saw them live.
So what was Green Day like, touring with Green Day?
They were awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pulled major pranks on us at the end though. They did it. I'm really I have an aversion to loud bangs. Like if you guys all have balloons right now, I wouldn't be able to do this because I'd be nervous about when they're going to pop. So they would so basically we're on stage and they're setting off all these concussions. And I was jumping probably like 8 feet off the ground, and it was pretty amazing.
I think at some point they dumped popcorn on us
they,
too. I don't know where
they
that
had a
came.
stream of popcorn.
Yeah.
It was raining on me for a couple of songs.
They were great to us. No, they were awesome. They made us feel so welcome on that tour.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
big. That was big for us.
Yeah.
Plus we got to watch them every night. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's right. And are you surprised by the success? I mean, here, American Idiot's on Broadway.
No, I think it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
awesome.
That's
They work
good.
really hard. They love what they do. You know, they're definitely a band that like a young band looks up to because you're like, wow, these guys really care about what they do. And you actually sometimes you don't run into bands like that. Like they're very protective of what Green Day is, and I think we're very protective of what MCR is.
Yeah. I want you each to pick a song, one song, and basically tell me something about it. Just pick a song that you feel is particularly representative of the band, or maybe it's your personal favorite, or one that didn't work the way it should have. I don't care what story. Just pick a song and give us something about it. Who wants to go first?
Off the
Mike,
new
you go
record?
first.
Is it off the new record?
Any record. I don't care. Any record. That's right. Would you all do that for me, please? So these guys. This isn't a hard question.
Well,
Come on.
I mean, you know, for off the new record, I think "Vampire Money" is really special. You know, it was what was it? The second song we recorded, or third song we recorded
Say
for the
third.
record. I mean, it was awesome. You know, we wrote the song, you know, maybe like an hour and a half before we recorded it, and the whole thing's tracked live. I think it's maybe like the third or fourth take of the song is what you hear on the record. And it was, I mean, there's video somewhere of us tracking that song, and it looks like a gig inside this studio. You know, like where we recorded the record. Really small space. Like, you know, from here maybe to the end of that stage. Like that's where we recorded this record, and you know, just bodies flying all over the place, and you know, it felt like playing a live show. And I think that's why there's that track is so energetic, and you can kind of feel that coming off it.
I remember Gerard like running all over the couch in the
The
studio.
with the magazine?
Yeah, this is what I was. All right, so everything in the studio, after we were done tracking it, was fine, but all the magazines had been destroyed. It was so weird. There was like nothing else was out of place, but every fucking magazine was just annihilated. So we had nothing to
Grabbed
read.
all
the
of
rest
them as we were. I don't know, because even if I get really swept up in something, I still have this element of self-control, and I don't know what that is. So I didn't grab the vase. I grabbed the magazine because I knew it wasn't important.
That's good.
I think it happens to me on a subconscious level.
Mike.
On this new record, I'm super proud of the song "Planetary." On each of our albums, we'd always come like a centimeter closer to writing a full-on dance song, and even back to like "Vampires Will Never Hurt You's kind of
Yeah, it has that
got
vibe for sure.
dance to it, and then "Sharpest Lives."
To the end.
To the end.
Yeah, to the end.
Yeah. So I mean, I think with Planetary, I think we finally reached that point. You know, like we wrote it just wants to have fun. You know, that song just wants to wants to dance and have fun.
I was going to talk about that song. So
You can add your 2 cents.
Sorry.
that's all right. I'll talk about "Mama." That was.
That's a cool song.
What can I say? It was a really fun song to do, and to finish it, and then and know that there was a spot for another vocalist, a duet, if you will, and to be like, oh, who would go really well here? And we were like, well, you know who would go really good here? Liza Minnelli. And then there was a snicker, like, ah ha ha ha. And Rob was like, oh really? Because I think I can call her. But like, you shut up, you can't call her. And he called her, and then maybe 2 weeks later, we were in a studio. She did it via satellite kind of thing, and she called us babies.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
so
hey,
nice.
hey, my babies. Like that kind of. It was really great. It was awesome. She was so nice, and she killed it.
The best, the spontaneous crying at the end. Like she
yeah, that
really
was
got
her
into
idea.
the role of the mom.
That was all her.
And the
Everything
mama.
in there is her. Like,
Yeah.
nobody told her to do anything. It was really
Really?
cool.
Yeah.
There's always something about Vampires Will Never Hurt You that it's a. I know we talked about it, but it's a really special song to me. We had done 2 songs before that. I think we had done first was Skylines, then was Our Lady of Sorrows.
Yeah.
That was, and maybe Cubicles came, and then Vampires Will Never Hurt You. To me, that is the real. It feels like the first My Chem song. It really captured everything. And I remember standing outside this diner, and me and Mikey were hanging out with this kid, and I just started to write the song a couple days before. And I remember we were talking about some stuff, and he's like, "What are you working on?" I said, "Well, I'm working on this song." He goes, "What's it called?" I said, "It's called Vampires Will Never Hurt You." And he goes, "That's the dumbest song title I ever heard."
I totally remember that.
You remember that?
I totally remember.
I go, "What?" Yeah, because I even prompted. I was like, "What do you think of that?" He goes, "I think it's the dumbest song
It
title."
was the dumbest song you'd ever heard.
And I was
That's
like,
when we knew we were on the right track.
yeah, and I was like, nah, you see, I was like thinking to myself, no, something next level about it. I just think, nah, because it's real long and it doesn't make any sense. And so we went and did that song, and I remember hearing my voice back in the recording and just hearing the whole recording and feeling how terrified at how fucking awesome it was. Like, this is so good. This is so good. And I remember hearing my voice and thinking to myself, I am, I feel like, and I recorded a lot of songs since then. I never, and I'm really proud of stuff that we've done since that. I never felt that way as hearing that first time. I still feel like my favorite performance that I ever did was that one take that I did on that first song. And I'll never, it's like the drug and the rush that you will never get back, no matter how much you chase it, is that first recording. And I still feel that way to this day. I hear Vampires to this day, and I think it's the best singing I've ever done was on that song. So that's kind of how I feel about
You guys agree? Yeah. Pretty good. Before I turn it over to these guys, because there are a lot of people here who I'm sure want to ask a few questions, and I don't want to run out of time. But did I read correctly where you guys, you booked your tour and then you promptly canceled the tour in Arizona? Is that true? A gig in Arizona in protest?
it. Yes, we did.
Talk about that. Was that deliberate that you did it and then canceled?
No. Actually, probably. You know what Ray had mentioned though when it happened, or who said like, I'm actually glad it happened that way because then it brought more attention to it because people had just forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Real quick, and then I just feel like our fan base that we feel that affected, we feel is like a really big part of My Chemical Romance, from Arizona to South America to Mexico to everywhere is like very important to this band, and we've always felt that way, and so that's why it was so important for us. But
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's unfortunate because you don't want to punish fans by not being able to play for them there and stuff like that, but the inconvenience of not getting to see a show is nothing compared to living in a police state or living in fear, and I really I encourage the fans and the people that live in Arizona to express themselves by writing their local Congress people or representatives, and maybe we can change the laws together as opposed to just kind of being angry on the blog or anything like that. I think I think it's easy to say, oh, I'm young and people don't listen to me, but there's ways to have your voice heard. You don't have to be 18 to hold a picket sign. So,
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a really courageous thing to do, and I applaud you as well. I think it was a really great act, and I agree with you. I think fans understand that. I think they would think even more of you for doing that, quite honestly, despite the inconvenience. Okay, let me turn this a little bit around, and let's go out here. I'll call on you. Raise your hand, stand up, speak loudly so that we can hear you and get you on tape, okay? And ask only one question. You have a nice smile. Go ahead, you go first. Yeah.
Okay. This is for Gerard. You had mentioned making a comic book, Killjoys.
all right.
And are you still going to go along with that and kind of tune it into the album? Or
Yeah, we get to Japan on Saturday, and I start writing when I get to Japan. So it'll be out this year, I hope. So we're just it shares all the same ideas that record is trying to express, but I'm really excited to actually show everybody how different it is from what you maybe saw in the videos.
Okay. Yes, right here.
What was the first time you guys really felt like My Chemical Romance was like something that you guys were gonna get somewhere?
Man.
That practice.
Yeah, the
I think
probably
when
first
we're-
practice. Yeah.
You know, that first kind of, when we had a lot of components, that's kind of when, I had a gut feeling, you know?
I think for me, I think like going on those first tours and ending up in places like the Dakotas or like Minnesota, and like having like 5 kids there that were like, "Well, I love your band. I'm so excited that you guys are here. We've been waiting for like months for you guys for this show." And I was like, "Really? Like, how do you even know how do you know who we are?" So I mean, that was huge.
Where are the people from Argentina? Okay, you can ask 2 questions. You came real far. Go ahead.
This is for Ray and Frank. When you guys write the guitar parts for the songs, you guys do it together, like isolated from people, or you guys do it separately and then coincide ideas?
Different for each song,
Yeah,
right?
depends on the song.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of songs where I remember even on Black Parade where we would, because we were all in this big house called the Paramore that was supposedly haunted, but that has nothing to do with it. So we were sitting and we were writing "Disappear," and I remember like, all right, well this is the chorus part, and I remember I was like, I think this part should be here, and I played a melody, and he was like, oh, that's cool. I heard this part, and he played it, and then we actually just took
kind
the
of merged
first
the
half,
two, yeah.
of like mine and the last half of his, and then that was the part.
Yeah.
that was really fun.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, like I guess it's different. It depends on the song. Sometimes just on the spot live while we're first learning the song, we're writing our parts individually. But I think at some point in every song we always get together. Like I remember Ghost to You, like on Revenge, like he'd come over to my apartment and we just go over stuff. So usually it starts out what we hear in our heads first, each other, and then we always kind of get with each other.
Just to make sure like we're complimenting each other,
Yeah.
not fighting, basically.
Competing, yeah. You got a second one? You got one?
Yeah.
I thought so.
saw the acoustic performance that you guys did the other day.
Oh, thanks.
And I wanted to know if you guys would ever consider making an acoustic album.
Good question.
Yeah, we never thought we would
Yeah.
ever do anything like that.
That was a lot
we were
of fun.
actually against it for a while, but yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To do it again though.
Yeah, I wish they do they still do those unplugged things?
That's
Like,
kind of more.
that was
That's
do they?
more like I would want to do. Like I don't know if an acoustic album per se.
Yeah.
But I guess they release it anyway. But more like a kind of like intimate performance. Like if we were to play here now, which would be great. Man, we should have brought guitars. That would have been nice. Sorry, there's no surprise.
Sorry.
Hide from the tomatoes. But no, I mean, what was great about it was it allowed us a chance to kind of revisit older material and look at it a different way. Like the last thing we wanted to do was play, say Not Okay, how you've heard it, but just playing with acoustic guitars. We really tried hard to change the arrangements and change the instrumentation. And it's a lot of fun. It's yet another challenge. We love challenges.
You have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come back.
Cool.
bring the
Oh, that's
acoustics.
nice.
We'll call all these people up.
You guys will be here, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Gerard, you talk a lot in your lyrics about rescuing people, rescuing yourself,
Okay.
rescuing the whole world.
Eh.
What are you needing rescuing from, or
Right.
what are you protecting the world from?
I don't know.
That's deep, isn't it? That's pretty
no,
deep. Are you a
I think-
psychiatrist or psychologist? No, okay.
I think there was definitely a point in my life where I felt like I needed to be rescued, and I think anytime I was a kid and just disappeared into comic books or things like that, there was always somebody rescuing somebody else, and I guess I always thought somebody was going to rescue me too. And I think anytime I was talking about that in the song, it was really just kind of maybe just this weird angry kind of cry for help, because I never thought I was going to rescue anybody else. But then I stopped needing to be rescued, and that was a really cool thing, and I think that that's why maybe I write about the things I write today.
And rescuing people, like hold them back and save yourself.
Yeah, like that. That's one of my favorite song titles that I had written sometime right after Black Parade or the touring had ended, because it was kind of like, you know, it wasn't saying like it wasn't saying I'm not gonna help you out. It's saying you got this. I'll go fall on the sword. But go ahead, like just get out of here. Like shit's gonna get ugly. It was more like it's more like that.
Over here. Yes, right there.
Um,
I'll get you in the back.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question for all of you. If My Chemical Romance wasn't a band, where do you guys think you would be right now? Do you think that you'd be comic book creators or musicians or something completely different?
Good question.
I don't.
Real
I mean,
quick.
honestly, I don't know. Like, we all talk about. I mean, for me, I really feel like the band did save us in a way. Like I actually have no idea what I would be doing. I know I'd be miserable. I wouldn't be. I definitely wouldn't be as happy as I am today. So I don't know what I'd be doing. But
Probably be trying to start a band.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely be in another band, but I definitely wouldn't be as happy as I am. It's the best band I've ever been in.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I would be doing comics or something, but I don't know that I would have achieved that. I definitely think I'd have some kind of job that I probably didn't like, and feeling like something was missing.
Way in the back. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hi. I just want to say really quick, you rock the red hair way better than Rihanna.
Oh, thanks. It's like a very similar color, though.
And my question kind of is similar to the one that was asked before. I would like to know, personally, I'm emotionally attached to a lot of your songs. They've gotten me through a lot of really hard times in my personal life. How, and this is for everybody, how or what songs have been emotionally, I guess, therapeutic for you? And, like, which songs are they, if you want to go, like, that deep into it? And how do you feel when fans come up to you and say that you saved their lives? Because I'm kind of one of those people, too.
I think, well, Frank has a really good answer for the second part of that question, but for the first part as to which song, like, I think, oddly, the most emotional for me is Black Parade. And it's often, these days I kind of feel a little disconnected from at least playing the song live, because, I don't know, that song does something to me. Like, it's definitely in talking about my dad and things like that. It's just, the inevitability of people getting ill, fulfilling potential. It's just like about life, that song to me. And it's about like, what are you going to be? Are you going to be something or are you going to be nothing? Destiny, things like that. That stuff really emotionally hits me. Like, I guess that fear of becoming nothing was so great to me that that getting to make art with my friends was like a gift, And I think that's why that song is so emotional to me.
Oh man, yeah. It's weird, like every song we write has a special place in your heart. It's like they're like each one of your kids kind of thing, and some of them mean something completely different than like even like what the lyrics mean. Because like you're writing your parts and you have your own emotions that you're drawing upon. And then when you finally hear what the lyrics actually are, it's like, oh wow, that's so cool. Like, yeah, it somehow connects. Or sometimes it's like, oh wow, he's singing about this and it means that, but at the same time, like this, like. Like Helena, I'm thinking about, my wife. Like when I play those parts, it's like, it's really crazy, But the emotions are different, but they're at the same level. So I would have to say, like, the creative processes themselves were things that got me through a lot of stuff. But the second part, as far as like the band being saving you or helping you through sometimes. I mean, it's one of those things where I can never express the gravity of that statement. We never thought we would reach as many people as we possibly have reached, or that we'd mean that much to so many people, or even to one person. All we did was we wrote these songs that meant something to us and put them out there in the world, and it chokes you up how universal music is and how much that can change everybody's life. So that's really great. But the way I feel is that when you guys say that, or when some of you say it, I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit. I think that the people that love this band and are so strong, and they're such amazing people. And we were there as a soundtrack, and maybe we provided you some comfort, but you're the ones that have actually saved your own lives. And I mean, the applause and all that is for you. Like, you guys are the best. So Thank you for saying that, but it's you
That's well
guys.
said. Thank you. I'm going to take one more question so we can do the meet and greet. So where do you pick them? Right there.
Right there.
There you go.
Hey, hi, how you doing?
I'm a survivor of cancer, and I was just wondering where you got your inspiration to write the songs you did.
Oh man.
It's getting harder, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had met a lot of kids. One of the things about, you're in a band, and then, like, the thing he was just talking about, like, you start affecting people, but then you start realizing that your band has gotten to a point where people are now going to organizations like Make-A-Wish to get in touch with your band because their wish is to hang out with you. Like, and that's a crazy thing when that starts happening in your band. That started happening right around Revenge.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a really trippy thing for us, and we really loved it right away. Like, we kind of got good at it. I don't know, like, we just enjoyed it. Like, we're like, wow, this is something that actually makes us feel good. We're getting, this is like all this person wants to do is hang out with us. And so, but then we realized, like, we started to meet all these people and do all these Make-A-Wish things, and that's who we were meeting backstage, and on the road. And I said, well, yeah, people have, like, songs for cancer survivors, and they have these kind of ballads or anthems or something, but there's nothing that talks about maybe how ugly it is. And it's never happened to me, but I could only imagine from the kids that I met how horrible or how tough it was to beat, And I wanted to make something that was so brutally honest that it became beautiful, like something so totally ugly that it became relatable and pretty. And so that's the inspiration for me from writing that song.
I started to realize too. I mean, as when we would do these Make-A-Wish things, like how great it made those kids feel. Like you were saying, it made us feel like 10 times better. Like, you guys wanted to hang out with us, but we were just like that. You guys made the time to hang out with us. Like, we got so much more out of it than I think anybody else did. Like, it was just so amazing to be in the presence of so much strength that it's really inspiring. So I hope you like the song. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I have to say, and I mean this, I'm up on stage here, I said over 80 times, tonight's questions from these guys were some of the best, maybe the best anyone has ever asked any of the artists up here. So congratulations to you. Really well done. And guys, thank you so much for coming. This was terrific. My Chemical Romance.